Yo, sometimes life calls for a change. Not fake, just different. It'll show you a different way. And right now, I'm on to my different way. I can promise you this is the same span, but the reporting is over. I'd like to welcome you to the Mr. Span Official Podcast. Let's go. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Mr. Span Official Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Span. This is episode number 44 of the report, or should I say number 44.1 on this motherfucker, man. Because we done did this shit before, man. We done did this shit before. We did this Sunday, man. We really did this Sunday. We did episode 44 on Sunday. But yo, man, like we had some technical difficulties, and it was really not conducive to the artistic integrity of the show, man. It really wasn't. Yo, so first things first, I want to shout out the folks who in the chat room was like, yo, your shit sounded a little robotic, Span, and yeah, y'all were right. Y'all were fucking right, man. I thought it was only isolated to the live stream, right? I thought it was only isolated to the live stream. But after I had listened to the recording of the show later on, I realized that it wasn't, just isolated to that live stream. And so, yeah, we did not put out episode 44 because it did not meet the quality that we expect here at the Span Report Podcast Network. And so we did not publish that episode because it sounded like absolute shit. So, yeah, man, we didn't put that episode out. And my apologies to you guys for not having that episode out. But I was like, yo, man, Tuesday, we gonna do this, right? And so here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Shout out to the weatherman for y'all not getting this episode on Tuesday, man. The weatherman, I'm gonna say this here right now, man. The weatherman, I should have really been a weatherman. The weatherman is one of the few positions in America where you can get your shit right 50% of the time and still keep your job and also be a pretty well compensated motherfucker, right? So the reason why I say, hey, we're gonna try this again on a Tuesday, was because when we recorded this show, episode 44, on a Sunday night, the weatherman at that particular time was saying, hey, Tuesday, we got a soaker for y'all. It's going to be all day rain on Tuesday, right? So I'm thinking, because I work outside and because my job kind of like, when it rains, it's like, yo, we can't be out there in the rain. It's a safety hazard. We can't be out there working and doing the things that we do. It is a safety hazard. So when it rains, yeah, you still go to work, but you won't actually be doing any work unless it's an emergency, right? Nah, man. Nah. It didn't even fucking rain Sunday, man. I mean, Tuesday. It did not fucking rain here Tuesday, man. So like for all of you weather people, with y'all 50% half right, wrong ass, y'all be right half the time. Like I was looking at my phone, man. I was like, yo, man, like how the fuck we go from like it's gonna be all day rain to like there's a 56% chance that we might get some scattered showers up in this motherfucker, right? So because we didn't get the scattered showers, your man Span was at like work, like doing like some real work all day. You know what I'm saying? So I couldn't get on the mic because I was at work all fucking day. So if you got anybody to blame outside of the technical difficulties we were having here earlier, the weatherman is the reason why you didn't get this shit here Tuesday. So we got that going on. We got that going on. Seriously, real talk. That's the reason why we didn't do this shit Tuesday. But yeah, man. This is the second attempt that we're gonna do for episode 44, man. Real talk. But of course, before we get into the entire episode, of course, I do have to remind you guys how to get in touch with us over here at the Mr. Span Official Podcast and let your voice be heard here, man. Real talk. You can go ahead and hit us up at our hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Leave us those voicemail messages. Those messages will get played here and responded to here live on the show and responded to in kind. You can also wait, before we get to the email, if you're watching us here live on Facebook, YouTube, and or Twitter, because we're live right now on all three platforms. If you're watching us live on those platforms, you can call into the show, chop it up with your man Span at area code 313-288-0485. So we really appreciate everybody who does that. Also, now we get to the email. Hit us up on our email at feedback@thespanreport.com. That's feedback@thespanreport.com. Go ahead and leave us those emails. Those emails will get read here and replied to here live on the show, right? So email us here at feedback@thespanreport.com, right? Also, I am on Threads. I am on Instagram. I am on X, which was Twitter. I'm not really on there. I'm not really on X or Twitter. I am really mostly on Threads. So if you want to chop it up with your man Span, it's Mr._Span on Threads, Instagram, Twitter, all of the platforms is really Mr._Span. Facebook. Hit me up on Facebook. And you can chop it up with your man Span throughout the week, man. We really appreciate everybody who goes about the business of doing that. Also, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and or Spotify. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get ready to hear it live on the show. We really appreciate everybody who goes about the business of doing that. Doesn't cost you a dime, just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Mr. Span Official Podcast and the Span Report Podcast. Not the Span Report Podcast. The Mr. Span Official Podcast. The Mr. Span Official Podcast. Specifically, right? But also leave us a 5-star review on those on those platforms. But if you're watching us on on YouTube, leave us a thumbs up on YouTube. We really appreciate those of you guys who do that. But also leave us a comment. For those of you who comment, we really do kind of reply to those comments here live on the show, and we appreciate your contribution to the conversation. Leave us those comments, and we really do appreciate you guys for doing that, man. Real talk. And right now, our website is down. Okay, our website is down. But if you do want to contribute to, or not even so much contribute, but get yourself some merch. We do have our store is still available. Our store is still available on tpublic.com/the Span Report Podcast Network, right? So you can go there. You can copy yourself some merch, man. You can get yourself a t-shirt, get yourself a hoodie, get yourself a mouse pad or a coffee mug or whatever. However, whatever it is your heart desires. If you want to support the show, we really appreciate you guys who go to tpublic.com/the Span Report Podcast Network and copy us some merch, man. We've been having some issues with the website real talk. We've been having some issues with the website for a long time, man. And so I'm really thinking about moving our website from its current host to another host. And so we've got that going on, man. And hopefully the next place where we decide to host our website will be let's just keep it above. It won't be as problematic, so to speak. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Problematic. It won't be so problematic for us to host our website there, and so you guys can get the entire Span Report Podcast Network experience where we decide to move the show, but not necessarily the show, but the website. So man, we got some things going on with the website. It's a whole thing, but we got that going on. But thank you for those of you who would be purchasing any merch from our store at TeePublic, but also for those of you who would let a 5-star review come across your keyboard and let everybody know why you rock with us over here at the Span Report Podcast Network, man. Real talk. But yeah, man. So like I said, this is the second time that we're going to try to do this show, man. So the weird thing about doing an episode a second time is that, like, sometimes the content doesn't change. So for those of you who are watching us live, you may have heard some of these things, but for those of you who are like, man, this is the first time I heard this shit, congratulations, right? But man. So first things first, I did have some random thoughts. I had a random thought, man, and one of the random thoughts that I did have was I was wondering, real talk, whether or not the Tubi movie has replaced the black stage play. Did it replace the black stage play? And the reason why I'm asking this question, man, is because I don't necessarily listen to terrestrial radio much anymore, man. Most of the content that I listen to is either a podcast or some YouTube video or something like that. I very seldom listen to terrestrial radio. And so I'm wondering if the dude who used to do the announcements for the black stage play coming to your town is still with us. One, is he still with us? And two, is he still doing the goddamn black announcements on the black radio stations, right? And the reason why I ask this is because I feel as though, a lot of the dudes who would normally be, a lot of the guys, the theater majors, the guys who would normally be doing the black stage plays in the inner cities and whatnot, I feel as though those dudes are now like, hey, nigga, I could be seen on Tubi, nigga. My shit can be reaching not just the city, nigga, but the world, nigga. I could be reaching the world. And so I'm wondering whether or not those people are still producing the stage plays and, are they still doing that, or are they transitioning to, hey, nigga, I just need to get I need to be seen outside of Detroit, nigga. I need to be seen outside of Indianapolis, nigga. I need to be seen outside of Charlotte, nigga. These niggas need to know what my pen can do, nigga. I'm out here like producing the next shit. You know what I'm saying? And I'm wondering what that means for the dude that was on the radio announcing the black stage play. Like, real talk. Y'all remember the dude who was announcing the black stage play? Your arms are too short to box with God, starring Little G from Silk. Like, what happened to that guy? Is he still with us? Is he still with us? You know what I'm saying? Like, has he been replaced by, hey man, listen, like they're gonna put this ad on Tubi, you know what I'm saying? And like, yo, that stage play is now a Tubi movie filmed by somebody's iPhone. You know what I'm saying? Like, what happened to that guy? I like, if anybody knows that guy, man, like, yo, real talk, please give him my contact information. Like, show him, like, yo, we miss you out here, G. We miss you out here, man. Like, somebody need to really show that man some love, because he was out here for all the black stage plays, man. Like, yo, Medea's family reunion, or like, that's that sort of shit, man. Like, real talk. Like, somebody really needs to let that man know that he should be receiving his flowers, man. Real talk. But man, we got some stuff going on. And we're going to talk about the stuff that's going on here in the world, man. Real talk. So let's get into it. Let's get right into it, man. So our first story that we got, going into this episode. Now, real talk, before we get into this, we were talking about the Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef the last time I talked to y'all, right? I believe that Kendrick Lamar won that beef hands down. After that, we were on the last episode that we did that actually didn't sound like, a robotic mess. The last episode that we did, Drake actually dropped a song while we were recording live, man. He did the Heart 6 while we were recording live. I felt like that song was a bit of a white flag. Like, all right, man, I feel as though, like, yeah, it was a good sparring match. He was trying to play it off. It was a good sparring match, but I feel like, Kendrick wiped the floor with that dude with the amount of, not even so much with the lyricism or anything else. It was just how he was able to frame the debate and framed the beef between the two of them to the point where, like, yo, Drake is looking like an outsider, and it not only so much looking like an outsider, but he always kind of was, right? And Kendrick like kind of crystallized that for a lot of folks. So yeah, man, we were listening to the Heart 6 the last time. We were actually well, not actually the last time, but y'all know what I mean. But yeah, man, so no, we were talking about how, like, you know, I feel as though Kendrick Lamar won that particular battle. Like, yo, at the end of the day, as big of a star as Drake is, Kendrick Lamar won that beef, right? But Azealia Banks has something to say about this.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. There's no wonder you get D's and everything.
Yeah, man. So Azealia Banks has something to say about this particular beef between Kendrick Lamar and Drake. And full disclosure, your man Span has had his own personal interaction with Azealia Banks. It wasn't a good one. In the 15 minutes that I had that interaction, I didn't enjoy any of it. Because, like, real talk, man, let's keep it a bug, man. She's supposed to be an artist, right? Azealia Banks is supposed to be a fucking artist. And yet, the vast majority of the time that anybody ever talks about Azealia Banks is because Azealia Banks is talking shit about other artists. Or because Azealia Banks is, like, involved in some sort of beef, some kind of motherfucking way. Very seldom is anybody in pop culture talking about Azealia Banks because Azealia Banks got an amazing fucking project going on. Or very seldom is anybody talking about Azealia Banks because, hey, man, that song she put out was a fucking banger. No, the vast majority of the time, anybody that's talking about Azealia Banks is like, yeah, Azealia Banks said some foul shit about XYZ celebrity, and yeah. Right? And the reason why she came at me some years ago was because I had the audacity, the unmitigated gall on Twitter to say, hey, man, does anybody know Azealia Banks for her actual fucking music as opposed to the beefs that she's always involved in? Right? But here we are in 2020 motherfucking 4, and Azealia Banks gets her name trending because she's talking about somebody else's shit. Right? So we get this story here. We get this out of Vibe.com. Azealia Banks unloads on Kendrick Lamar and says he has a Napoleon complex and trash dick. Well, my bad. First things first, this is not my motherfucking business. I don't give a fuck what kind of dick the nigga got. Like, and whether or not he got a Napoleon complex, that might be true. However, what that got to do with the music that he's putting out, right? But that's what it is. But we get this story here. Like I said, this comes out of Vibe.com. It says that Azealia Banks has continued her onslaught of slights against Kendrick Lamar, making fun of the rap star's height while accusing him of being subpar sexually. In a lengthy Instagram letter posted on Sunday, May 12th, the Harlem native lashed into Lamar's tactics during his battle against fellow rap star Drake, which included him accusing Drake of undergoing cosmetic surgery, and having sexual relations with underage women. Kendrick's dick is wild trash, Banks wrote in the post caption, which included a photo with text that further expressed her disdain for Lamar and Drake. Everybody's got to stop acting like this, like all the rap niggas don't have work done. Kanye has the biggest apple bottom in hip hop history. Rick Ross, I love you, but you have horrible veneers. Hey, man, I wonder when she's fucking right. I wonder when she's right. Oh, man, I love you, but you have horrible veneers, had a gastric sleeve and gastric bypass, and are still selling alcohol. You could have just called me. I would have fixed it for you in a natural way. Banks also critiques Lamar's assertion that Drake is a pedophile for dealing with underage women, as the legal age of consent is as low as 16 in the numerous states across the U.S. Hey, man, that is not the argument you want to make in America, man. R. Kelly was out here still like really trying to make those arguments. Hey man, you know, depending on what state she's in, you know, 16 is it's okay. Like when he did that shit with what was that, Teray? We was on some like, yo, when you saying teenage, how old are we talking? Like, nigga, what the fuck you mean? How old are we talking? If listen, as a father of a young lady, right? If some nigga of R. Kelly stature, or some nigga of Drake stature, or some nigga of Kendrick Lamar, any of these niggas would have been trying to like talk to my baby, they'd have been finding pieces of that nigga wherever the fuck he lived. Pieces. Right? So the mere fact that like Azalea. I'm sorry. Azalea Banks is like, yo, so because the age of consent is as low as 16 means it's okay. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. Let's see what else it says. President Joe Biden's recent use of euphoria, despite claims of questionable content, is his own personal life. Okay. I guess. This is ultimately all about Kendrick Short Man's dick insecurities. Why call Drake a pedophile when 17 is the legal age of consent and in many states it's 16? Why isn't Kendrick calling about Biden, whose daughter revealed that he would come into the shower with her at 9 years? Oh, hold on. So not only is she kind of like, okay, again, this is why Iggy, I'm sorry, Iggy Azalea, because you get mixed up in this shit. But Azalea Banks is a trash motherfucking individual. Not only are you trying to conflate, okay, the fact that like you're trying to conflate that consent laws in different states are, you know, like the age is different in different states. But now you're trying to flip this into a Joe Biden issue? Oh my fucking God. So not only are you a motherfucking statutory rape apologist, but you're trying to make it as though Joe Biden was also a statutory rapist for let's read this again. Whose daughter revealed that he would come into the shower with her at 9 years old. Do you have any evidence at all that Joe Biden was molesting his own fucking daughter at 9 years old? Do you have any evidence of that? Do you have any evidence at all? Like I can remember, like as old as I am, right? And I wasn't 9 years old when this was happening, but I can remember times where I was in the bathtub with my mom and she bathed me when I was young. Like I can remember a time like that. I wasn't 9 years old, but still, that was my fucking parent, man. It wasn't some dude who was sexualizing me. It wasn't some woman who was sexualized. They were trying to make sure I wash my fucking self right. I washed myself right. In some kind of way, between the Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef, we started talking about Joe Biden, nigga.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. There's no wonder you get D's and everything.
Hey man, real talk. If you are a Azalea Banks fan, I really do. I really, really do feel sorry for you. But this article goes further. It says, this is ultimately all about Kendrick Short Man dick insecurities. Why call Drake a pedophile when 17 is the legal age of consent and in many states it's 16? Why isn't Kendrick calling about Biden, whose daughter revealed that he would come into the shower with her at 9 years old for using his song for political promotion? Y'all stupid if y'all think any points were made. She continued. If you're listening to Iggy Azalea for political advice, if you're listening to Iggy Azalea for anything other than some bullshit, yeah, right? Because that's all she is at this point. She always finds herself involved in some fucking mess. Iggy Azalea is always, damn. Azalea Banks, I'm sorry. Iggy Azalea out here catching all the strays because they got like that Azalea shit going in common. But Azalea Banks, if you find yourself listening to Azalea Banks for anything other than maybe she got a track out here that's banging, I feel sorry for you. Because I ain't never, if I'm being honest with y'all, I ain't heard not one fucking, God damn damn, Azealia Banks song, not a fucking one. Not a fucking one, man. And so, like, even the other part about it is this, man. She says Kendrick Lamar has trash dick. How the fuck does she know? Did Kendrick Lamar fuck her? Did Kendrick Lamar like fuck her and leave her? Did Kendrick Lamar like just leave her hanging and shit? Because even if he did, because it's her, it's
supposed to feel sorry for that bitch. I don't
because it's her. I don't because it's her, man. Real talk. But yo, man. Goddamn, man. Azealia Banks is out here talking about Kendrick Lamar having trash dick in a rap beef. That's crazy. We got a comment here in the chat room. Angela says, off topic, Pam Grier or Bernadette, the daughter on Good Times, who's more beautiful? Definitely easily Bernadette. Okay, this is hard. It's not definitely easy, Angela. I'm sorry. It's not definitely easy. Pam Grier. Cold piece of work, man. Cold piece. Bernadette Stannis, I believe that's her name. The one who played Thelma on Good Times. Fine too. Like, she's vintage fine. Like is at her, like, she's at her advanced age, still probably could. But if you were asking your boy, and I'm taking both of them at their primes, just me, I'm taking Pam Grier. Nigga! I'm taking Pam Grier at their primes, right? I don't know, like, both of them are, but at their primes, Span likes Pam Grier. So thank you. I appreciate that question, man. Real talk. We got that going on. But yo, man, we got some other stuff going on here, and we're gonna talk about it, man. So let's get to it, man. So here's the story that we talked about on the initial episode of episode 44, and technical difficulties and whatnot. But there was a black teacher who was fired because he allowed his students to take down his hair, man.
Oh man, hey.
Now we gotta be careful about this now, though, because, like, we don't know if it's just hate. You know what I'm saying? We don't know if it's just hate. He could have just been doing some foul shit, but he lost his job as a teacher because he allowed for some of his female students to take down his hair before a prior. Before a subsequent hair appointment. He had braids in his hair, and he allowed his students to take down his braids before his hair appointment. And so we get the story here. We'll read this story here. This comes out of blackenterprise.com. It says a popular TikToker who used the platform to vlog his teaching adventures is getting mixed reactions to his in-classroom hair session with his female students. According to the educator, who goes by Jock Lee on TikTok, he decided to live stream a group of his students unbraiding his hair ahead of his scheduled hair appointment at a hair salon. After live streaming the experience, Lee was well aware of the mixed responses. To keep the conversation going, Lee decided to share a sped up version of his TikTok page where he asks his 650,000 followers to comment your thoughts. This nigga got... That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people, man. This motherfucker had a big ass audience. While most of the responses on TikTok were positive, a more serious debate was sparked when the video was reposted on Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter. Black parents tap in. Would you be okay with your daughter unbraiding her teacher's hair? Is this appropriate? I think the bond between an educator and their students can be a wonderful thing. However, I believe boundaries are necessary, and there are plenty of team building exercises or games that can establish this and doesn't require touching beyond high five or a half church hug, she added. Many weighed in, including a former teacher who believed that the exchange wasn't that serious. According to the former educator, Lee clearly has built a strong, trusting relationship with his students. Everything isn't a red flag or for something more sinister, they added. Another called out Lee for allowing students to do his hair in the classroom as if they were close friends or related. They also brought attention to the issue that teachers would have if a student did another student's hair in class. He's not chilling with his little siblings or cousins. He's at work, they said. It's bad enough that he's on work time, but young girls can be impressionable, and this is somewhat intimate and way too personal. If a student started doing another student's hair in class, would that be okay? So, I had some thoughts about this, man. I really did. One of the things that it reminds me of, one of the things that this kind of reminds me of is a few weeks ago, probably about a month ago, we talked about a teacher here in the Detroit area who lost her job because a parent was uncomfortable with the fact that this teacher was a rapper outside of the fact that she was a teacher, right? And that parent went to the school and spoke of their uncomfortableness with the fact that this teacher was a rapper outside of the school. And that teacher ultimately ended up losing her job because of one parent complained about this teacher being a rapper, and also the concern that this teacher could also have a negative influence on the students because she was a rapper, right? And at the time when we talked about this, I can remember saying like, yo, man, these kids may have lost probably one of the teachers that they connected with the most, because that particular teacher identified with the culture and identified with some of the lingo and everything else that they identify with. And, far too often the kids can't really develop a connection with the teachers because the teachers are so detached from what the kids are into, right? And so, when this particular story kind of came up, one of the first things that I thought about was that particular situation where you had that one teacher who was the rapper in the Detroit area, and there was one parent who decided that, like, yo, man, because she's a rapper outside of the school, I can't vouch for her professionalism. I can't vouch for her ability to teach these kids in an effective way. And so I'm uncomfortable with this. And so therefore, because I'm uncomfortable with this, all of these other kids may lose a teacher that they connect with the most because I'm uncomfortable. Right? Now, I'm a father of a young lady. My daughter is now 21 years old. So she's no longer in school or anything else. I don't know. I'm being frank with you guys. I don't know the right answer to this. I don't know how I would have felt if, I saw a video of my daughter on TikTok unbraiding her teacher's hair. I don't know how I would have felt about that. I'm just keeping it 1,000 with y'all. I don't know how I would have felt about that. I can also understand how another parent may feel uncomfortable with the fact that their daughter was seen on the video on TikTok taking down their teacher's hair, right? But herein lies the rub, where shit isn't exactly it isn't exactly cut and dry, right? And so, like, when I think about things like this, of course, I always kind of draw from my own personal experiences, and I express some of my personal experiences here on the show oftentimes to, kind of inform why I'm thinking the way that I'm thinking about these sort of things, right? So, I come from a time where, not even so much I come from a time. Let me stop that shit. I remember when I was in high school in Chicago. Right. I went to Olive Harvey Middle College in Chicago. It was an alternative high school in Chicago, right? Now, when people think about alternative high schools, they think about people who were problem kids. They think about people who were dropouts and everything like that, right? When I went to Olive Harvey Middle College, it was simply because when my mother passed away in 1997, I moved from Detroit back home to Chicago. And my family didn't want me just sitting at home waiting until the spring semester to get back into classes and whatnot. So I would have been a semester behind everybody had I just waited until the spring semester to get back in school. And so Olive Harvey Middle College offered me an opportunity to just get back in school, and like at the same time as everybody else. Of course, I had to test it to get into the school or whatever else, but the school was, to me, and I'm just gonna lay it out here. Olive Harvey Middle College was the greatest school I ever attended. Not only because of the small class sizes, right? But it was not just that, but it was also because of the care that the educators at that school took into knowing the students there and to trying to relate to the students there. And what ended up happening was, because you felt like you were being listened to because you felt like you were being cared for in that school, we blossomed in that school, man. We blossomed there. And that school also afforded us some opportunities to do things that, like, in regular public school, we wouldn't have been, we wouldn't have had these opportunities to do. So there was a college tour. Like the Olive Harvey Middle College went on the Black College tour every year, right? And it wasn't just high school students; there were middle school students too, who went on this Black College tour every year. It's how I decided I was going to go to Tennessee State University, was because I was actually able to see the school before I went to the school, right? But not only that, we had the Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico study trip that we took every year. There was a group of students who went every year. We went to Guadalajara, right? And that was one of the trips I was able to take advantage of and learn so much more about Mexican culture. But also, I swore off Taco Bell for like a good 10 years after I came back from Mexico, man. Real talk. Like, there was no way you can get me to eat Taco Bell for about a good 10 years after having had like some fresh tacos. Like, there was this, I swear there was this taco truck outside of our hotel in Guadalajara. Me, my boy Princeton, my boy Sherman, who y'all got, you guys also know as Six Figure Dilla on TikTok. Like we were hitting that steak, those steak tacos up every night. We was down in Guadalajara, right? But also, there was a trip that went to Paris, France. There was a trip that went to Dakar, Senegal. So, like, we were taking out of the country trips with this school, right? We take it out of the country trips. We take it out of town trips with our teachers and with our mentors and stuff on these tours on at this school, right? Now, I say all that to say that a lot of the students who were going to the school were low income. A lot of the students who were going to the school were, some of them were, problem kids and everything else. They had issues at home, right? They had issues at home that wouldn't necessarily make it conducive for them to be able to take these sorts of trips and whatnot. But the principal of our school, Mrs. Hella Stanton Hawkins, a saint in my eyes. Every now and again, like, depending on who you were, because you had to be good, right? You had to be, you had to have a good reputation with Mrs. Hawkins, right? But depending on who you were, and if there was a question on whether or not you would be able to make it to the airport, if you were going to be able to make it to O'Hare Airport, Miss Hawkins would allow for you to stay in her home before that trip. Right, you spend the night at Miss Hawkins' house so she can make sure that you made it to the airport for that trip because some of these students didn't have parents who had cars. And this is before Uber, right? There was no Uber. You had the CTA and maybe a cab. That's it. So Ms. Hawkins would allow for some of the students would stay at her house to take them on these trips, right? Some of us took some of these trips and we did not have all the monies to go. But Ms. Hawkins found a way for us to be able to go anyway, right? Now, I say this to say, they're like, yo, here's an educator who allowed for her students to stay in her home before an out-of-town trip, an out-of-country trip. Some people will find that unorthodox. Some people will find a red flag in that, right? As someone who is a pupil of a Mrs. Hawkins, I'm looking at that as like, yo, man, like, good looking, Miss Hawkins, right? Good looking. I remember the first time I experienced any of Mrs. Hawkins' generosity was I was a new student at Olive Harvey Middle College, and she asked me and another student, a guy by the name of Adiyenka Obulabe, and she just asked us to move some desks for her from one room to another, and we did this for Mrs. Hawkins, right? And our the thank you that she wanted to give to us was she wanted to take us out to dinner. She took us to a place in Chicago. I'm not sure if this place is still open. It's called BJ's Market. And they had like, you know, the sweet potato fries and stuff like that. I'm forgetting like what the menu was. The sweet potato fries is what I remember about this place. But I can remember that phone call that I made to my uncle when I was telling him like, yeah, so my principal wants to take me out to dinner because I moved some desk out for her. And they were like, nigga, what? Like real talk, like nigga, what? But like real talk, it was nothing sinister. It was nothing untoward about her intentions. She simply wanted to show us her gratitude for not only being, you know, of course, obedient students, but also like, hey, like these are some of the things that could be available to you if you pursued your education. Right? That was mostly what her intentions were. And so when I see a teacher now using what some people would consider unorthodox methods in order to connect with their students, I'm looking back at what my experience was at Olive Harvey Middle College, right? I'm looking back at that. And there are so many people who did not have a teacher or an administrator or a mentor, so to speak, to reach out to them in that way when they were kids, when they were young folk, and had no bad intentions toward you. They only wanted the best for you. And when I see these sorts of things happening now, I'm like, folks ain't going to understand that. They just not. A lot of folks ain't going to understand that because they never had that sort of relationship with people in an educational space, right? Now, here's the other part about that. These educators, oftentimes they're with your kids more often than you are, right? They spend a lot of time with your kids. Oftentimes they spend more time with your child than you do. And I think sometimes some parents may feel a bit uneasy about the fact that here's another adult who has influence over my child in a way that I might not necessarily be comfortable with because I haven't involved myself in the ways in which I should have. Right? I think some of that is what the reaction to this is with this teacher and the braiding of the hair and everything else. But here's the other side to this. And I bring this to how I deal with work, period, right? I applaud him to some degree of like, you know, connecting with his students, right? I really do. Like, I remember like, I don't have many black male teachers. I could probably count off like all of my black male teachers on one hand, right? Not a whole lot of them. I could probably count them on this one hand. But there's the other part about it is social media and the old adage of covering your ass, man, because you really,
Oh man, hey.
the problem with social media is that you're going to run into a whole lot of people who don't understand what it is, what those relationships are, who don't even care what those relationships are. What they see is you doing something that they're uncomfortable with, and they also have the means in which to voice their opinion and make their opinion very loud, and not only that, find concert with other folks who also feel a little bit uncomfortable with the fact that you are sharing this with social media. And so I would say this to anybody who's working a job. Hey man, stop sharing your jobs on social media. Like real talk. Stop sharing what it is that you do with social media, because far too often we are finding, like, if anybody has a problem with you, social media will find a way to get you up out of it, the ways in which you like feed yourself. Right? So even though you may believe that what you're doing is innocuous, there's some other people who may not necessarily feel the same way that you do, and will get your ass up out of the paint because they don't feel the same way that you do about what it is you're posting that you think is innocuous, right? And so what we find is people sexualized what was going on between that teacher and the students. Even if everything he said was true. Hey, I got my students here. I got this hair appointment. My students are helping me take down my hair, everything else, so that I can make this hair appointment. That's all fine and good. TikTok didn't need to know about that. That went into their business. Facebook did not need to know about that. Not our business. Twitter didn't really need to know about that. Wasn't their business either. When you decide to share your life with social media, you also, on the flip side of that, find yourself dealing with the uncomfortable reactions of some folk who don't really rock with what you're doing. And you have to deal with that. And so that teacher who decided to share on social media that his students were taking down his hair before a hair appointment, he lost his job. And the reason why I believe he lost his job was because he didn't recognize the rule that, hey man, everybody on social media ain't your fucking friend. All right? Everybody on social media ain't your friend, man. Despite the fact that everything you might have been doing was above board. They don't give a fuck, bro. Everybody comes into every situation with their lived experience. And if someone who has dealt with, if someone who watched that video had dealt with someone who has sexually abused them, they're bringing that experience with them when they're watching that video. Just as much as I'm bringing my personal experience of, hey, I had a high school principal who would allow her students to spend the night at her home before taking them on out-of-state trips. As much as she didn't do anything untoward towards any of the students, there are a lot of people who will be uncomfortable with that because they have other things that may have happened to them in similar situations, right? Stop bringing social media into your workplace. That is a lesson that I think a lot of people should have learned from this. Stop bringing social media into your workplace. I can't tell you how many motherfuckers from my job I got blocked. Real talk. I told these niggas like, hey man, yeah, I blocked you. Why? Because I don't need you niggas to know what I'm talking about. We make money together, nigga. We ain't friends. Y'all don't need to know what I got going on outside of this joint. Real talk. But yeah, man, he got fired, man, for involving his students in his social media activities, but also because there's a lot of folks who just are not comfortable with that. And yeah, I hope he learned a lesson. If nothing else, I hope he learned a lesson. But also, I do think that like there's something to be said about a teacher who was connected with his students. I feel as though the kids could be losing people whom they really do trust and could help them along the way. And oftentimes it's because of the hangups of the people who, of their parents or, those on social media, the hangups that folks have because of the lived experiences that they've had. And they then project that onto someone else. But yeah, man, we got that going on. I talked about that a hell of a lot longer than I planned to. But yeah, so we got that going on. Now, another story that we have going on. Anita Baker got the motherfucking aunties all upset, man.
Who are these niggas? We need to stay away from these niggas.
She got them upset, and the reason why, we know who these niggas is, though. The reason why they upset is because Anita Baker had the audacity, the unmitigated motherfucking gall to cancel a concert 15 minutes before the goddamn concert was supposed to start, man. I mean, I say 15 minutes, but it's probably a little bit more than that. I mean, we're going to give Auntie some grace. But we get this story here. This comes out of TMZ.com. It says that some Anita Baker fans are scrambling for Mother's Day gifts this morning after the singer had to pull the plug on her show in Atlanta just a few minutes before it was supposed to start. Anita's show at State Farm Arena was packed Saturday night as many fans gifted the concert tickets to their moms to celebrate the weekend. We can see it. Anita on Saturday night, brunch on Sunday, and you're good. Anita Baker canceled tonight at State Farm Arena. Hundreds of upset fans because many brought loved ones to see the star as a Mother's Day gift. So first things first, we did record episode 44 originally on Mother's Day. So happy belated Mother's Day to all of the moms. We love you. Y'all are awesome. Y'all are great. Y'all deserve everything that comes your way. Right? The roses and the accolades and the whole shit. But I know some of y'all was upset with TT Nita, man. I know some of y'all was upset. I seen the Auntie Brigade on they motherfucking on the warpath. How dare this bitch decide she gonna cancel the show 15 minutes before the show. Right? 15 minutes. Like we're gonna read further in this article. It says those plans were scrapped though less than 15 minutes. So I was right. Those plans were scrapped though less than 15 minutes before the curtain was scheduled to go up, as fans who were already in the arena found out that the show would not be going on this time. An email from the venue said it is due to late unforeseen circumstances. No further information was provided, except to say that everyone should get a refund. As you can imagine, some fans were annoyed as they filed out of the arena. Now, listen, I grew up at a time where Anita Baker was, when you knew it was time to clean up when Anita Baker came on. It wasn't until I got grown that I could actually appreciate some of the songs that Anita Baker was actually singing. Man, I would be when I was a meter reader at one point, man, I used to listen to Anita Baker. That shit would bring me some calm, man. Real talk, man. I just kind of wish that Anita Baker would have taken some of her own advice though. I really wish she would have. I wish she would have done whatever it takes to make her fans happy, baby. I really do, man. Like, I really wish she would have just done that, I wish that, she would apologize, to her fans who decided they were going to go to that show for Mother's Day, man. Because she knew she was wrong. And she should be singing them that song. But, she's really not, doing that. Maybe she got caught up in a rapture, maybe the rapture got, Anita Baker caught up and she wasn't able to perform in Atlanta, It's kind of crazy, But yeah, man, Anita Baker. Here's the thing though. I can remember a time where they were talking about Anita Baker was that she was retired. I remember like, yo, I thought Anita Baker had decided that she had retired from like performing. Like, I think this was around, I want to say around 2003, 2004, back when the Pistons were actually good. You know what I'm saying? Like back when everybody in Detroit was acting like they was Pistons fans, you know, because, you know, Detroit fans only act like the Pistons are, they're Pistons fans when the Pistons are good. When the Pistons ain't shit, everybody forget that they're Pistons fans. But like she was one of those, you know what I'm saying? She was one of those, and she was singing like the national anthem, you know, for the Pistons back when they was at the Palace and shit like that. Like I really wish she like, you know, just kind of gave them that energy, you know, but you can't just be out here canceling on folks for Mother's Day weekend all willing in. Now, as an auntie, you know, because we feel like, you know, we talking to TT Nita. The other aunties are really thinking about kicking her out of the auntie delegation. And like, yo, she got some work to do. She really does have some work to do in order to get the aunties back in the fold, because they are fucking pissed. And I feel as though a lot of the aunties went to that show, didn't see Anita Baker, didn't get the songs that they were supposed to get from Anita Baker. It was so hot that they felt like they was going to...
I kill everybody up in this motherfucker.
That's how they walked up out of that bitch, man. Real talk. But yeah, man, Anita Baker cancels her concert at the last minute for Mother's Day, man. Real talk. Yeah, just retire again, TT. Just go ahead and retire again. I mean, you know, I think people will understand. I really do think that people will understand if she did that, right? We got that going on. Another story that we got here. So how many of you have ever looked to an NFL kicker and decided, hey, that NFL kicker has the keys to how I want to live my life? How many of you ever done that? I don't think I've ever done that. Like the kicker dude? Shit. The kicker dude. Like the dude that only comes out, like he might be out on the field 0.10% of the time the entire football game is being played. The kicker dude. The kicker. But the Kansas City Chiefs, they have a pretty outspoken kicker. And this dude has decided that he wants to tell women what it is that they need to do in order to like have a fulfilling life. So we get this story here. Let me pull this story up. We get this story here from so this isn't the story. His name is Harrison Butker. Butker. Harrison Butker had a lot of shit to say. So apparently there was a college somewhere outside of Kansas City that decided that they wanted to have this dude as their commencement speaker at their college, right? And yeah, he had some shit to say. And let me pull this up so you guys can watch right along with your man Span. Hold on just a second as we do this here. And let's share that. And let's add to the scene. Boom. Let's see what the fuck Harrison Butker had to say at Benedictine College. Check this out.
It is only in the past few years that I have grown in courage to speak more boldly and directly, because as I mentioned earlier, I have leaned into my vocation as a husband and father and as a man. To the gentleman here today, part of what plagues our society... Well,
first things first. He said his vocation is that of a husband and a father. I'm pretty sure your vocation is that of kicking balls through uprights as a member of the Kansas City Chiefs. That is your vocation. Your role as a husband and a father is outside of your actual vocation. Your vocation is what actually brings you money to support said family. Your vocation isn't the fact that you're a husband and a father. Your vocation is you're an NFL kicker and you kick balls around every now and again.
Is this lie that has been told to you that men are not necessary in the home or in our communities.
Okay. Here's the other part too. As a man, I've never felt as though my role as a man is not necessary. Right? These are some of the things that when we talk about fragile masculinity, I've never felt as though my mere existence meant that I was like unnecessary or anything else. People make sure that I feel needed all the time, even at the job with the hyper masculine motherfuckers that I work with at the job. I've never felt as though my role as a man was in question or that I was unneeded or anything like that. These are the protestations of dudes who feel as though their masculinity is in question. Never felt that. Can't fucking relate. I really can't.
As men, we set the tone of the culture, and when that is absent, disorder, dysfunction, and chaos set in. This absence of men in the home is what plays a large role in the violence we see all around the nation. Other countries do not have nearly the same absentee father.
I need to ask him. So on January 6th, how many of those dudes who stormed the Capitol on January 6th, how many of those dudes do you believe were the product of fatherless home? Like, I mean, I need someone to ask him this question because I feel as though he's leaning a certain way. He doesn't have to say it, but I feel as though this rhetoric leans a certain way and it leans that way. How many of those dudes who stormed the Capitol on January 6th didn't have their fathers around? How many of those motherfuckers stormed the Capitol and had their daddies with them? Right? How many of them had their daddies with them?
Other rates as we find here in the U.S., and a correlation could be made in their drastically lower violence rates as well. Be unapologetic in your masculinity, fighting against the cultural emasculation of men. Do hard things. Never settle for what is easy. You might have a talent that you don't necessarily enjoy, but if it glorifies God, maybe you should lean into that over something that you might think suits you better. I speak from experience as an introvert who now finds myself as an amateur public speaker and an entrepreneur, something I never thought I'd be when I received my industrial engineering degree. The road ahead is bright. Things are changing, society is shifting, and people, young and old, are embracing tradition. Not only has it been my vocation that has helped me and those closest to me, but not surprising to many of you, should be my outspoken embrace of the traditional Latin Mass. I've been very vocal in my love and devotion to the TLM and its necessity for our lives. But what I think gets misunderstood is that people who attend the TLM do so out of pride or preference. I can speak to my own experience, but for most people I have come across within these communities, this simply is not true. I do not attend the TLM because I think I am better than others, or for the smells and bells, or even for the love of Latin. I attend the TLM because I believe, just as the God of the Old Testament was pretty particular in how he wanted to be worshiped, the same holds true for us today. It is through the TLM that I encountered order and began to pursue.
So yeah, that cut short. But yeah. So what we ended up hearing from Harrison Butker is that women's role is mostly to be housewives, not only just to be housewives, but to mostly just to rear the kids. And some would say, like, yo, Spam, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with just raising kids? What's wrong with, like, what's wrong with the traditional family? What's wrong with, our having the ability to, take care of our kids? The husband goes out and he makes the money, and the wife just maintains the home and teaches the kids and everything else. Hey, I'm not, if that's how you get down, I'm here to tell you, I am not mad at you. I'm glad that shit works for you. I'm glad that your family dynamic is working for you in that way. I swear to God, I ain't mad at y'all. The problem stems from when you believe that your model for how to raise a family should be the model that everybody else is used to raise their family, right? That's where the problem comes in. And so the other part about it is oftentimes we find out that the people who spew this shit aren't necessarily living this shit, right? And so what we find out with this particular guy, Harrison Butker, who says that his wife took up the vocation of just being a housewife and raising his kids and everything else. I mean, the dude plays it in the fucking NFL. He's an NFL kicker. He makes pretty good fucking money, right? Which makes it easy, which makes it easy for his wife to be able to stay home and raise the kids. She doesn't have to work if she doesn't necessarily want to, right? Because her husband is bringing in a pretty significant amount of income, right? Cool. No beef whatsoever. That works for y'all. Bet. Everybody ain't living like that. Not only because they don't want to, oftentimes because they can't. But here's the rub. This motherfucker, his mama, is an accomplished physicist. I'm sorry. Physicist. We get this story here. This comes out of Microsoft, MSNnews.com. It says that Kansas City Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker faced backlash for telling female college graduates to become homemakers. Here's the other part about this that I think is interesting. He said this shit at a college commencement speech, meaning there was a bunch of women in that crowd who had earned their collegiate degrees, and he basically told them, yeah, y'all educated and all, but fuck your degree. Go ahead and have my babies and raise them. Right, that's your role. Fuck your education, have the babies, raise them. We'll do the work and shit. Just fuck your degree. You've been sold a dream. Fuck your degree. But his own mom, his own mother, was a physicist. It says Kelly Butker has worked in the Department of Radiation Oncology at the Emory University School of Medicine in Atlanta since 1988. 1988. And a 2020 article by the school's Winship Cancer Institute stated that she specializes in two forms of radiation, brachytherapy and gamma knife medical physics care. It says Kelly Butker obtained her master's degree in medical physics from the nearby Georgia Institute of Technology in 1988 after getting a bachelor's degree in chemistry from Smith College in Northampton, Massachusetts in 1985. Her father, James W. Keller, also worked in oncology at Emory University for 28 years before his retirement in 2011, per the school's cast. So hold on. This dude is out here telling the women, hey, yeah, just go home and be mamas, just raise the babies or whatever. But his mama was a physicist at Emory University. Come on, man. Come on, man. These people, man, like, it's as if they don't really believe the shit that they say to folk. They don't believe it. I'm sure, you know what, though? I'll take that back. He probably really does believe this. This is almost on some shit like this is like he got the the Kevin Samuels for white folk. I believe he probably like did the Kevin Samuels for white folk. I don't know who the Kevin Samuels dude for white folks is, but I feel as though he's been listening to the Kevin Samuels for white folk. So whoever the Kevin Samuels is for white folks that's who we've been listening to, right? Because ultimately, I don't think any woman has ever really sat back and thought, hey, I'm going to college. I'm trying to get my education. I want to advance in the world. Maybe I should put this on hold. What if I asked Harrison Butker what he thought about I should do as a woman in regards to my education? Said nobody ever. I'm sure. That's
not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
I'm sure not nan woman asks this dude, hey, I'm going to come to you for fucking like for life advice, right? I'm going to go to Harrison Butker, the kicker from the Kansas City Chiefs. Get the fuck out of here, bro. But you got that going on, man. That actually happened this week. He's been trending. But the other part that I think is is funny is that Whoopi Goldberg actually came out in his defense. She did. Whoopi Goldberg came out in his defense to some degree. Let me close this here. But yeah, let's see. We get this here from oftenannouncing.com, and let me pull this down. But yeah, at a time where Harrison Butker is hard pressed to find many media members or outlets defending his controversial collegiate commencement speech, the Kansas City Chiefs kicker found an unlikely ally in Whoopi Goldberg. Butker sparked outrage last weekend while speaking to an audience of graduates at Benedictine College, a private Catholic school in Kansas. During the commencement, Butker made remarks that were widely criticized for being transphobic, homophobic, and sexist. Butker ranted against abortion, IVF, and surrogacy. Hey man, what the fuck does any of that have to do with education? What does any of that have to do with education? Whew. He claimed Pride Month represented deadly sins and alleged that women have had the most diabolical lies told to them. Butker proceeded to encourage the graduating women sitting in front of him to forego their career aspirations to be a housewife and mother. The NFL condemned Butker's speech, noting his message of seclusion was given in his private capacity, his personal capacity, and does not align with the league's views. While many have criticized Butker's speech, Whoopi Goldberg came to his defense Thursday morning on The View, comparing the Chiefs kicker to Colin Kaepernick. What the fuck?
Makes me sick, motherfucker, how far we done fell.
That ain't no Colin Kaepernick shit, Whoopi. I'm sorry. I mean, like, every now and again, Whoopi Goldberg makes some sense, but every now and again, Whoopi Goldberg be on some bullshit. Comparing his Chiefs kicker to Colin Kaepernick, kneeling for social justice during the national anthem. Here's the difference between the two, right? And this is why what Whoopi Goldberg is doing is problematic. Harrison Butker is still a member of the goddamn Kansas City Chiefs. Colin Kaepernick hasn't played in the league for at least 6 years now. These are not the motherfucking same. They are not the fucking same. One exercised his free speech and spoke up on behalf of black folk, spoke up on behalf of the fact that, like, black folk were being disproportionately killed by law enforcement, and he kneeled, and he not only was he blackballed, but many people took him as a symbol of what was everything wrong with the NFL. Meanwhile, this guy gives his speech. I didn't see the Kansas City Chiefs decided that, hey, let's get rid of this dude. Hey, we don't want this guy in the locker room. Hey, we need to make sure that, like, these sort of views are not viewed anywhere else outside of him doing that particular speech. No. He said what he said. He's still a part of the NFL. He is not Colin Kaepernick. So I believe that, like, the consequences between what happened between Colin Kaepernick and the NFL and Harrison Butker and the Kansas City Chiefs and the NFL, I think those are disproportionately different. And you kind of I think you kind of like over your skis on this one, Whoopi. I'm sorry. I like when people say what they need to say. These are his beliefs and he's welcome to them. So here's the other part too, right? People confuse the First Amendment with, consequences, right? There are far too many people who believe that you should be able to say whatever the fuck it is you want to say, consequences be damned. And what happened was, even Colin Kaepernick, as much as I agree with, like, the stance that Colin Kaepernick took, the consequences of his speech was he no longer works in the NFL, right? Being able to say what you want to say is a government thing. Hey, I can speak out as much as I want. The government cannot persecute me for the things that I say. However, your employer might decide, I don't want to be associated with the things that this person is saying. That's not a mark against your First Amendment speech. That is not the government coming after your First Amendment speech. So I think Whoopi's out of bounds on this. I really do. We got some comments here in the chat. Let's see what GS28 has to say. He said, I blame Mahomes and them for being too good on the field. Dude had a lot of time on the sidelines to develop this. He probably did, man. It wasn't like it wasn't too many Kansas City Chiefs games that came down to the field goal. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, maybe he was like, yo, yeah, I'm going to really kill him with this one. He was over there writing this speech. He was over there writing this speech while Patrick Mahomes out there, engineering a game-winning drive, man, real talk. And also he writes in and say that he just needs to shut up and punt. But, yeah, I mean, listen, I'm sure there's some on the right. We took offense to when someone on the right said the same thing about LeBron James, said the same thing about Kevin Durant when they were saying things about Donald Trump. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, it's like, yo, bro, to act what I'm really getting at with Whoopi is, listen, he ain't lost nothing. So to compare him to a Colin Kaepernick is a bit premature. This dude has lost jack shit, nothing. He's probably going to be like the first person to touch a football for the Kansas City Chiefs in the NFL season of 2024. He's going to be the first person to kick off. He's probably not going to lose that job, and people are going to forget about it. Meanwhile, Colin Kaepernick hasn't played in the league in 6 fucking years. I want to say it's been 6 years. It's been a while. So, yeah, Whoopi tripping. Whoopi is fucking tripping. But also, Harrison Butker is tripping too. Hey, man, ain't nobody ask you what you thought about what the women should be doing. Fuck you, man. Kick the balls. Like, you supposed to be kicking the balls. That's all they want you for. Kick the balls. Kick the balls through the uprights. That's all they want you for, man. Ain't nobody asked for all this extra. So we got that going on, man. Also, what's another thing we got going on here? Let's see. Yeah, we've been going for a little bit. Oh, yo, so check this out. Damn, should I do this? I'm gonna go ahead and do this. So, in Virginia, the school a school board has decided that they want to reinstate the names of Confederate leaders on 2 schools that had removed the names of those Confederate leaders a few years ago.
That'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
Yeah, man. They have decided to bring back the Confederate names on some of the schools in Virginia. So we get the story here. This comes out of, let's see, do I still have it here? Here we go. We get this out of the Associated Press. It says a Virginia school board voted Friday to restore the names of the Confederate military leaders to a high school and an elementary school 4 years after the names had been removed. A reversal that some experts believe may be the first of its kind. Shenandoah County School Board voted 5-1. Nigga, 5-1. To rename Mountain View High School as Stonewall Jackson High School and Honey Run Elementary as Ashby Lee Elementary. Like, what the fuck?
That'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
Friday's vote reverses a decision by the school board in 2020, a time when school systems across Virginia and the South were removing Confederate names from schools and other public locations in response to the Black Lives Matter movement. Rivka Maislish, senior research analyst with the Southern Poverty Law Center's Intelligence Project, which maintains a database of more than 2,000 Confederate memorials nationwide, says she is not aware of any school that has decided to restore a Confederate name that was removed. Overall, she said, the trend toward removal of Confederate names and memorials has continued, even if it has slowed somewhat since 2020. She noted that last year the Army renamed 9 installations that were named for Confederate leaders, and the Army also removed a Confederate memorial from Arlington National Cemetery. In Virginia, local governments have been banned from removing Confederate memorials and statues until the law was changed in 2020. The law preserving Confederate memorials did not apply to school names, though. So here's the thing, right? I'm old enough to remember when people like Candace Owens was saying that the Democrats were the party of the KKK, that the Democrats were the ones who wanted to keep people in slavery. I'm pretty sure, as a matter of fact, I am willing to put my left nut on what's this shit? On a ledger. We could bet this shit. I will bet my left nut that the vast majority of the people who are on this school board are also Republican. Nigga! I'm telling you they're Republican. They're the ones who are actually out here talking about keeping the Confederate heritage alive. They want to bring back the Confederate names of these traitors to the country, right? But also, why bring that back? Why would you want to do that? Considering the reason why the names of the schools were changed to begin, in the first place. Shit. There are a lot of people who believe that the reason why these schools were these school names should go on is because the Confederate is their heritage. The Confederacy is their heritage. Their heritage is rooted in keeping some people enslaved and some folks not. Unfortunately, those folks who they wanted to keep enslaved were people who look like that, who look like me, who look like you, who look like us. Right? So when I hear people talk about some Make America Great Again and all those who jump on that and they talk about, you are part of the Democratic plantation as opposed to the Republican one, the one who was actually promoting the niggas who kept us enslaved. For real? That's what you're going with? So, yeah, man, these schools, they brought back Confederate names to put on these schools. That's crazy to me. That's absolutely crazy to me. But it also speaks to, and this is something that I kind of wanted to lean into when we were talking about the guy who was braiding the hair with the kids and whatnot. There's a distrust of a lot of parents when it comes to their kids in the educational system, right? There's a big distrust. And so part of the reason why these names are coming back is because of you had a concerted effort by a lot of right-wing leaning parents to lean into trying to shape the curriculum, lean into trying to shape the perception of what it meant to be a Republican, lean into trying to change the perception of what it meant to be, someone who would advocate for a Confederate to have their name on a school, despite the fact that that Confederate was a traitor to this nation, right? In education across the board, what we're finding is folks are distrustful of the people who are charged with educating their kids across the board. And it doesn't even have to be a Republican or Democratic thing. It is across the board. People are disproportionately not trusting of the people who are charged with educating their kids. And this is why things like this are happening. This is why things like this are happening. But yeah, man, we got that going on. 2 schools in Virginia have decided they're going to bring back Confederate names to their schools. Yeah, man, I've been going on for a little bit. Some of these stories are going to get cut. They're a little old. So we're going to get on up out of here. Let me go and just wrap this up, and we're going to start fresh on episode 45. Right? We're going to start fresh on episode 45. But of course, before we get up out of here, I got to remind you guys how to get in touch with us over here at the Mr. Span Official Podcast. and let your voice be heard, go ahead and hit up that hotline at area code 313-288-0485. There's area code 313-288-0485. Leave us those voicemail messages. Those messages will get played here live on the show and responded to in kind. You can also email us here at feedback@thespanreport.com. That's feedback@thespanreport.com. Go ahead, leave us those emails. Of course, those emails will get read here and reply to here live as well. Follow me on Twitter, Threads, Instagram, Twitter, like the whole shit. Everything. Mr._Span. Follow me there. Chop it up with your man Span throughout the week. Also, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and or Spotify. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get read here live on the show. We really appreciate everybody who does that. Doesn't cost you a dime, just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Mr. Span Official Podcast and the Span Report Podcast Network in its entirety, man. Real talk. But yeah, man, it is time for me to get on up out of here. I will talk to you guys again soon. But until next time, fam, peace.